Hey folks, what up? We're doing Palestine. Palestinian news. Probably should have changed this before I hit record, but you know, fuck it, we're doing it live. Right, Palestine. Right, okay. See, then I don't make a fool of myself because my spelling is terrible. Really interesting news. We'll start with this. Actually, let's start with this small video. Just get it out of the way. But I found this interesting because I've been saying this myself. I was like, you know, eventually the Palestinian Authority is going to be rejected, you know, by the Palestinians because of their failure to really provide. Oh my God, sorry. To really provide any kind of real ability to negotiate anything to make life better for the average Palestinian. I think what we're seeing is the start of the third infada. It starts with an I, but I think that's what we're going to be seeing here, because the failure of the Palestinian Authority is opening up for extremists to come in, right? But here's the thing. I mean, the Palestinian Authority with Hamas and everything else, it's like, it's just rockets. That's all they got. Rockets. More and more rockets. But I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing these fighters on the street, right? Up against these Israeli teenagers, you know, all decked out and in all their fancy American gear with their fancy U.S. snipers and the U.S. jets and, you know, dropping bombs. But I'm seeing these guys, they're untrained, they're uncoordinated. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not convinced that even with the full support of the United States government, Israel is actually going to be able to complete this project. Right, without mass genocide, with, like, you know, storm shadowing entire hospitals filled with people, you know, storm shadowing power plants, just annihilating the, you know, any area in Palestine that puts up any resistance. That's the only way they're going to win this. These Palestinian people are fighting like I've never seen. You know, even I don't think even your, you know, the bravest Ukrainian would. I mean, these guys are out here in sandals with AKs, you know, up against, you know, tanks and sniper rifles, man. You know, 15-year-old kids running around. Last time they got into a major war a few decades ago. Well, that's a good context there. I mean, all the same, if Israel wants to finish this project, complete annihilation of the, you know, Palestinian government, I guess, and, you know, turning the entirety of Palestine into, you know, Israel, I guess. I think that's the goal, seems to be, with the settler, you know, absorption project. Maybe save a few spots for the remaining people, right? But if they're going to be doing that, you know, they're going to have to be extremely brutal. But here we see Palestinian mourners kick out Palestinian Authority leaders from a funeral held for Jenin victims. So Jenin is one of these places in Palestine that's seeing a lot of fighting. Some are comparing it to the Gaza Strip. I think Barry Weiss is a hack. I think Barry Weiss is a bad actor and a hack. I don't take what she says seriously, and I think if you pretend to take Barry Weiss seriously, then your agenda is very clear to me. She does the whole,
cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
You're anti-Semitic the moment you're criticizing Israel for its disproportionate aggression against the Palestinian people. She does that whole gaslighting. She does all that shit. Barry Weiss is not to be trusted. She's a bad actor. And frankly, a hack and a fool. She makes a fool of herself. She made a fool of herself on Joe Rogan. Made Joe Rogan look like a, you know, Jordan Peterson debater over here. So I think she's really an embarrassment and shouldn't be taken seriously, Panda Man. So that's pretty interesting video there. Let's go ahead and jump into this. I wanted to show this whole video. I think this is very important. And here we see Panda Man whatabouting. Yeah, I mean, are there Palestinians that believe Israel shouldn't exist because of their oppression against it? Yeah. Does that change the fact that Palestine, the Palestinian Authority, the elected government of Palestine, has agreed time and time again to many negotiations? This whole idea that Palestine never comes to negotiations and never wants to talk, it's a complete fabrication by Israeli sycophants. Palestine has agreed to all different kinds of considerations, you know, all kinds of, fine, just keep everything you've taken, just leave us alone. They've said it multiple times in multiple negotiations. Israel, no, they haven't, no, they haven't, no, they haven't, no, they haven't. Israel, time and time again, walks out the room, literally doesn't even, you know, pretends like they want a negotiation, doesn't even show up to the negotiation. Terrible bad actor, Israel. But the whatabouters, oh, they're racist, they hate Israel, so we get to genocide them. Didn't you know? If they hate you, you can kill them. Didn't you know that? Ah, I didn't know that. Cool. And what's the justification? Some dusty-ass book, some fucking stupid bullshit that doesn't fucking matter to the modern day.
After nearly 2 days of fierce fighting came to an end, residents of Jenin refugee camp ventured out from their homes today. Work to repair the damage began. This central street, largely destroyed in the Israeli army assault, using drone strikes, bulldozers and hundreds of troops as they hunted down militants who had grown increasingly bold.
There's bullet holes.
Soldiers took over Mohammed's family home. Their belongings now strewn across the...
And I'm just reading more of Panda Man's canned statement. Why does another country have the how come they have the right to move into another country and settle it? That's an invasion. You're not allowed to just roll into another person's territory and settle it because of some interpretation of some shit. It's bullshit. Free Palestine, Panda Man. Israel needs to get the hell out of here. There is zero justification for these actions. Zero. And those that are attempting to, like I said, are bad actors, like Barry Weiss. She has no interest in having a real resolution for this. If Palestine were to be wiped out, Barry Weiss would be making excuses as to why it had to happen tomorrow. I guarantee it. If Israel just finished the job, Barry Weiss would be out there making excuses for the Israeli government tomorrow about why it had to happen. I'm so tired of this. We're really gonna let them run out the clock and gaslight us like Panda Man is here? We're really just gonna let them gaslight us until they finish this project? It'd be like if apartheid in Africa, right? No, it's not. It's not an apartheid. It's not an apartheid. Like we had this argument for 40 years until they just finished the job. And then the argument becomes moot because it's over. I'm so tired of this.
The floor. He shows me graffiti scrawled on a wall tapestry. A hole blasted through their neighbor's wall. That's how Israeli forces moved house to house, avoiding open streets. His wife, Rima, and more than a dozen members of her extended family were trapped, terrified, in a single room.
They cut the electricity, they cut the water. There was no air and it was very dark. One of our daughters fainted. There were 2 teenage boys. They handcuffed them and took them to another room. I have a little baby. He was crying like crazy. I didn't know what to do for him.
The level of destruction here really is pretty massive. The Israeli army has hailed this operation as a success, saying it discovered more than
Cool it with the
1,000
anti-Semitic
weapons.
remarks.
But you've got to wonder what long-term impact that's really going to have on the militant groups it says it was targeting. If anything, all this is likely just to further fuel the anger, further fuel the resentment that had already been building.
Literally, Panda Man. Yeah, but Yeah, but, I mean, literally, how long are we going to let these clowns in our life like Panda Man run us around by the nose with their bad fucking actor nonsense? They're not making honest arguments. They're running out the clock so this fucking extreme project can finish its fucking deed. And what the fuck is it trying to do? Take over all of Palestine with settlements, right? This is exactly what Bibi Netanyahu wanted. Yeah, but. There's no solution that can be made, Davey, really. Just got to let it play out, huh? Really, no solution. I can think of one solution. Stop giving money to fucking Israel. Oh, no, oh my God. This man should be arrested. Israel, the Israeli lobby in the United States and in Canada, literally making the argument that and in the UK, actually, Jeremy Corbyn just made a big speech about this. They're literally making the argument that it should be illegal in your democratic country to criticize or boycott Israel. And we're just going to let this happen, huh? Why? Why? So the U.S. can have some military satellite convenient to start some war with Iran whenever they want? We're going to let this infect our politics like this? Don't you love it? Oh, you know, we got to help Ukraine, but it's okay for Israel to do a full-blown apartheid. We're super hypocrites, and we don't care. No solution has yet been made by anyone because nobody can agree on what the right solution is. The right solution is the 1967 borders. Period. Israel removes the settlements. The settlers go back to Israel. Oh no, my home, the literal home that I stole from a Palestinian. My home. No, you got to go. It's actually not difficult. We stopped giving money to Israel until they agreed to the 1967 borders, right? But we don't want to because we want to start a fucking fight with Iran, right? And wouldn't that be great to do a Ukraine with Iran, right? Pay Israel to go fuck Iran up. Wouldn't that be handy? Panda Man, if you say yeah, but one more time, you're man. Find a better way to preface your argument. I'm not reading it. If you say yeah, but I'm not reading after it.
At funeral processions for some of the 12 Palestinians killed here.
Find different words.
The Israeli army says all of them were militants, but at least one appeared unarmed in a video that captured the moment he was shot.
Whoa, I better hit my censorship button here 1 second. Make sure I can show this.
Mourners from across the occupied West Bank came to express solidarity and anger.
20 years ago...
Panda Man, there is literally nothing you can say to justify the actions of Israel. Period. There's literally nothing you can say. No argument that can be made that could justify this. This is not defensive. There is nothing defensive about a full-blown apartheid. Hollow Huss, good point. Did you think about that one?
Yeah. There was a major operation in Jenin refugee camp. Yes. Back then, it was part of the second Intifada. Yes. Now, a lot of people feel very angry, but we haven't yet seen another Intifada. Why is that?
What you are seeing here now, what we are seeing here, it is just a spark. Jenin is a spark. Yes. Jenin is a spark. Go to the brain of everyone here. I'm 60 years old, okay? I should not think like that, but they are killing my children. I'm seeing the ladies coming out of their houses last night. They could not find anything. They could not move. They are shooting with them. They are occupying their houses.
And there's a new target for popular anger, the leadership of the Palestinian Authority. Stones thrown at a government building by young men this afternoon.
For characters like Panda Man, who conservatives, by the way, support Israel, I guess because evangelicals support Israel, because supporting Israel means the coming of the apocalypse. I don't even understand the conservative angle for blindly supporting Israel. But it honestly, there is no amount. I could show you video after video after video of the IDF sniping child after child after child, journalist after journalist, old person after old person. Does not matter. Yeah, but. Right? It does not matter, right? As Israel continues to expand, I mean, this all started, by the way, with Israel intentionally sniping Palestinian journalists and civilians. This was intentionally, and also, by the way, I showed this on stream. The Israeli government harassing the funeral services of those journalists, almost causing the Palestinians to drop the casket because they were getting beat in the legs by the IDF while they were carrying the journalist's casket. No amount of that matters because conservatives are bad actors. People like Barry Weiss, who sycophantically support Israel no matter what it is. Like I said, if Israel just finished this project and, committed full-blown genocide against Palestine and just stormrolled it and just fucking finished this whole thing off, Barry Weiss would be making, and Panda Man would be making excuses for that murder, for those murders tomorrow. Yeah, but is what we'd be hearing. They didn't believe that we exist, so we get to annihilate them. Bullshit. Are we tired of it? No, we're just gonna.
And a crowd chanting.
I think honestly, no one cares.
Of the camp.
And
Many
no one cares about this,
the
honestly.
Palestinian leadership
and Israel is going to be able to successfully finish this project.
Their more diplomatic approach.
But the question for me is, where does the Israeli government go from here? You need a boogeyman. What happens when it's all done and there's no more land to conquer and the people are cowed, right? Ghettoized. You finished your project, right? You killed whoever you had to kill to do it, right? Who's the boogeyman after that? The entire government is about this whole situation, right? This fear mongering. Oh, they're going to get us. They're going to get us. If we don't get them, they're going to get us.
And support the militant groups.
People are not happy with
what happens when you're done.
We are not happy. Every day they're killing people in Jenin. What we have to do? Okay.
They're just going to keep going. No one cares.
Okay, Abu Mazen can
no one fucking cares.
I don't know. I spent in the jail 2 years.
Yeah, so Iran.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm studying university. I finished all my study. What I have to do now? I don't have a job. I don't have anything.
They're just running out the clock.
One Israeli soldier was killed last night in clashes as the army withdrew, whilst this military vehicle was struck by a powerful blast. The troops were cheered by settlers at one point. Dozens of attacks on Israelis have been carried out by men from Jenin, and many believe the only solution is using force. The Israeli army said it did as much as it could not to harm civilians in Jenin or their property. There are large parts of the camp not damaged in the raid, but everyone here feels under attack. Positions on both sides have been hardening. This operation might be over, but the bloodshed isn't.
And it's weird when pro-Israeli people see pictures like this, all they can do is knee-jerk come up with excuses as to why these people got to die. You ever notice that? Hey, it's your boy Lenny from South Boston. Thank you so much, Lenny, for being here. #1 financial contributor, Lenny. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel, Accidents Waiting to Happen. But isn't that funny? They look at this kind of stuff. They'll look at pictures, Yeah, but it's still justified we're killing them. It's still justified that we're, slowly pushing them out of their land and taking over their homes and taking over their property. And it's all justified. I mean, I know they're human beings, but God and stuff. It's our land from way back. They don't want us to exist. They don't even like us. So, it's all justified, man. Barry Weiss had a six-page article in New York Times that totally justifies the eradication of the Palestinian people. There you go. I mean, she was on Bill Maher. So fuck, man, it's all over, dude.
Positions on both sides have been hardening.
She was on the TV.
This operation might be over, but the bloodshed isn't.
Well, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tonight said that the raid in Jenin had meant that the area is no longer, in his words, a safe haven for terrorists, and describing it as a first step with further action to follow. There's no doubt that the raid has weakened the militants, the resistance fighters, as many Palestinians see them, but they're still here, and so too are the underlying grievances around the Israeli occupation that drive support for them. I think it's important to step back and appreciate and underline really how significant an escalation we've seen in recent days. The Israeli...
Really? Just going to go out there in your gray shirt? It's Channel 4 News, man. All right.
Airstrikes that we've seen on Jenin refugee camp, we haven't seen those kind of airstrikes for around 2 decades in the West Bank, and so too the kind of open anger that we've seen some Palestinians start expressing against their own political leadership. That's something new and very significant. One other element further complicating this already complex picture is the internal divisions within Israel over the government's controversial plans for judicial reform. And tonight, the police chief in Tel Aviv, which has been seen...
Boy, I wonder what Barry Weiss has to say about this. I bet it's a real golden fucking nugget about, you know, Bibi Netanyahu wanting to change the judiciary that basically... Could you imagine if it was just totally legal for the Congress to just nullify a federal case, right? You got the FBI investigating you. You got the cops. You know, everyone's coming after you. And if you're connected to a politician, you can just get that shit wiped out. Like even a presidential pardon, you still have to like go through the evidence. Still has to be shown. They have to go through the trial, right? But then you get pardoned, right? But you had to go through the trial, right? But this is great. You just get to wipe it out. You just be a complete criminal and just boop, that's inconvenient. Make it disappear. Wow, Panda Man. Yeah, no, it's we should give the Knesset, I guess that's the executive branch of this patchwork so-called democracy. Yeah, okay. I mean, honestly, Sleepy, you know, what the fuck, man? I think Panda Man's a fucking spook or something, dude. Why did I let this guy back in?
To the largest protest against those plans has been removed from his post. Many suspect that's because he hasn't clamped down on the protesters in the way that many in the government have wanted.
No, Panda Man. No, elected politicians should have control over the legislative branch of a democracy. That's a great idea. Politicians are one, always known to be honest. Two, better interpreters of the law than lawyers and judges. Everyone knows that. And three, if they do crimes, they should be, you know, not held accountable for that because they're kind of more important. They're better people. They're, you know, more connected and more powerful. They're richer, right? So they shouldn't be held to the same laws as like regular fucking people, right? I mean, come on. They're not scum, right? They're better. So, no, I think that's a great idea. Politicians, elected politicians, should have control over whether they are investigated or arrested or anything like that. That's a great idea.
To do so, demonstrations there already building.
Sikander, thanks very much indeed. Well, last night we spoke to Israel's Deputy Ambassador here in the UK.
Davey,
I'm joined now by the Palestinian Ambassador, Hassan Zomlot. Thank you very much for coming to the studio. You heard it there in Sikander's piece. What must be worrying for you, representing the Palestinian Authority, is it increasingly, and I found this myself when I was in Gaza a few years ago, ordinary Palestinians do not feel that their authority, the Palestinian Authority, represent them or can protect them, and there's real anger against them now.
The ordinary Palestinians do feel unprotected, exposed to Israeli brutality, as we have just seen.
But also unprotected by the people that you represent.
They feel unprotected, and we should feel with them, and absolutely we should find ways to provide.
You kind of suck at this, Panda Man. Is this like baby's first gaslighting? What the fuck is this? Now, democracy, democracy, checks and balances, and transparency, that actually, it all looks pretty similar, regardless of the culture or society that it's in. In fact, a lot of the systems are totally interchangeable, right? Just because one society is Israeli, it doesn't make it okay to bend the rules for a system that is checking and balancing against itself. It's amazing. Like, Israeli exceptionalism is this weird, like, cult, right? And you just, like, you have to believe that, man, Israel is just, they're just the victims and everything. And it's shocking to me because I heard this, a brilliant author. I wish Woke Patriot was here because he would probably know. There's this brilliant author who explained how toxic and bad it is for Israel to base its entire identity off of its victimhood of the Holocaust, right? Instead of basing its identity on, it's the strength of its own people and the strength of its own society, the entire identity of the Israeli government is we were victims of the Holocaust, ergo we get to do whatever the hell we want. And it doesn't seem very sustainable, this mentality that we are eternal victims and we can't be guilty of crimes because the crimes committed against us are so great, right? From the past and in the future, there's a whole society that wants to erase us because we're, doing an apartheid against just a little one. It's all justified. Barry Weiss.
Provide them with that protection. Because under such circumstances, under such unhinged brutality and attacks, the Palestinian people deserve protection. It's their right, and it's our obligation.
What about
the issue? Is that the PA was established as a very interim entity to undergo our commitment, the PLO commitment.
I want offensive Iron Dome.
And the PA was supposed to become the state after 5 years, as you very well known. Then by then, the state will have its own army, and the army will protect the people.
And that has never happened.
And that has never happened because Israel and its allies in the West has allowed almost 30 years with undermining that prospect. And we are in that very gray area at the moment.
Barry Weiss, she did an article and she said, nuh-uh. You should read it. There was like one, like, I love a Barry Weiss article too, because there's like one or two nuggets of fact and just a lot of bloviating. A lot of fucking blah, 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 blah.
But the Palestinian people have the absolute right of protection. And that's why the alternative, until we get Israel's occupation ended, until we establish a state, is we seek international protection. But the blue hats, that is what is
and you're not going to get that either, right?
No,
so
why shouldn't we get that?
But the point is that
it's an international obligation. It happened in so many areas. We have so many UN forces around Palestine, actually, between Egypt and Palestine.
But as we know, the United Nations is toothless on a number of issues, including on this one. But the question is this: in the interim, as you describe it, the extremes are getting more vocal, more representative, and the middle ground, which is the only ground on which there can be a solution, is more irrelevant.
Well, to answer your question, Davey, I think those international bodies do offer authenticity and legitimacy. At the same time, the history of this situation speaks for itself. It's not like we don't know, what has happened since 1967. Right. Or what do they call? What does the Palestinians call when Israel took it over, the terrible day or something? They have a holiday for it when Israel invaded Palestine. But we've seen the history of this. And look, I mean, I can't sit here as a liberty-loving, I'm going to die for this shit, democracy-loving son of a bitch, and say that the Palestinian people are getting a fair rap out of this. And I see the Western alliances not giving a shit about Arab people. I mean, they don't care about Arab folks. Not enough. Right? And we've basically seen a full acceptance of Israeli exceptionalism when it comes to Palestine. And that's why I've said, and I've been criticized for this by people who support Palestine, but they got to stop the rockets. That's the only thing that is going to stop is if they do a full Gandhi. That's the only thing that's going to change, because the argument of, but the rockets is too strong. Yeah, but, you know, some Palestinian person went on a rampage in Jerusalem and stabbed a bunch of Israeli people, right? Because they had enough of the oppression, right? Like any human being would be. I couldn't imagine what I would look like if I was born and raised in Palestine, right? With my, you know, natural proclivities for wanting to be free. What I would be capable of if I was under that oppression. So I don't think anyone cares. I think I'm going to go back to what I said. No one fucking cares enough. No one fucking cares enough. And I think Israel is just going to be able to successfully run up the clock. And, but they're going to have to kill a lot more. They're going to have to kill a lot of people. And that's where the extremists from Palestine come in. Right? Because the extremists, you fucking bastard. But no, because the extremists on the Palestinian side are going to do exactly what Bibi Netanyahu and Ben Gvir want. And they're going to, you know, kill. You know, the killing's going to start. And, you know, because I think that's what they're waiting for. I think that's what they want. It's a great distraction politically, right? Oh, okay, we had to rush through with this change to the judiciary. We had to get through this because we're in a real war. It's an intifada, right? We got to go. It'd be perfect for politics. It's exactly what the extremists want. And I think it will be the final push that they need to finish this project. My question is, though, what are you going to do? There's several million people. Are you going to kill women and children? You're just going to, you know, Holocaust them? What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do, Israel? You basically won. Israel has basically won this. No one cares. No one, you know, it's not like apartheid in Africa. No one, you know, there's no Desmond Tutu or whatever the fuck. There's no one here. No one fucking cares.
Yeah, especially in Israel.
Not Desmond Tutu. What the fuck was his name? I got his head. I got his face in my head. Guy from Africa, apartheid. Nelson Mandela. Woo! I got it before. Right before Panda Man said it. Woo! I'm not stupid. Shut up. Or overweight. Fuck you.
Just seen the report. I mean, you have a government
my ass off in here.
It has ministers that are convicted even in Israeli courts as racist, like Ben Gvir, and you have.
But you haven't had an election since 2005. Since 2005, you've
damn it, Hollow Huss.
And we should have. And we
Did it have the music?
And we have always.
But you keep postponing.
We have always prided ourselves. We are one of the few in the region who hold elections. You were there, you know. And, you know, every time we convene elections, we run the wall of the Israeli occupation wanted to dictate, and the rest of the world deciding on the outcome. So in 2006, when we had a free election, Hamas won, and then all of a sudden the international community boycotted the government. And then the last round, last year, Israel prevented us from convening elections in Jerusalem.
Yeah, but. Very wise.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Got him.
And arrested anyone who would campaign for elections. We cannot convene elections without Jerusalem and Gaza.
Even
the worst news desk in history. Why are they at different heights?
Hanan Ashwari, you know, who was a grand Palestinian, said this is an excuse for the Palestinian Authority not to go to the polls because they're afraid of losing to Hamas.
Well,
you know, that's a good point, actually. And look, the Palestinian Authority, they're not very popular, right? So that's actually a very good point.
Jerusalem is an excuse. I'm happy to take it, but it's a very serious issue. Jerusalem is the heart of the matter. You've lived there.
Palestinian, look over there, look over there, look over there. No, I mean, these guys suck on ice. The government, they're making bad decisions. You know, like I said, I think they need to do some Gandhi shit. You know, I think they just need, you know, arm in arm. And it's like it's impossible for me to not receive criticism for saying that, though. Look at me, Mr. Comfortable. Oh, I'm so hot in my comfortable house. Whitey over here, right? You know, with my comparatively massive wealth to your average Palestinian person. And I'm not bragging. That's just the fucking way of the world, right? That's just me surviving in this Western world. I've accumulated more wealth than your average Palestinian person, right? So here I am, Mr. Privilege, saying, yeah, you got to lay down your life. You know, let the tanks roll over you. I mean, honestly, because the rockets aren't working, the guns aren't working, the resistance isn't working. It's in fact, it's exactly what the Israeli government and the Israeli right-wingers want. They want the Palestinians to participate in armed rebellion against them. They want that excuse to eradicate and finalize this project. The rockets benefit the Israeli government. Right? The open calls for Israeli, to end Israeli existence by, Palestinian government officials helps the Israeli government. There does need to be a complete reconfiguration, a rework, they need to go back to the chalkboard on this one. And I'm the most privileged fucking white guy in the world to say that. But the rockets and the shit, it just isn't fucking working, man. And they're almost done. How much time you got left, Palestine? I mean, honestly, what, 10 years before this project is complete? 20? And it's going to be accelerated. The more Palestine militarizes, the easier and quicker Israel would be able to finish this project of apartheid. Right? It benefits the Israeli government. So are you going to change anything?
Every peace process has failed because of Jerusalem. We will not accept.
That's true, but also irrelevant because it's working. That's 100% true, what he just said. Right? Maybe the Palestinian, yeah, sure, maybe once in a while. Okay, maybe there's probably a couple you could look to where like, okay, the Palestinian Authority or whoever's negotiating for Palestine's being completely ridiculous here. I'm sure you can point to a few, but its majority is stymieing it is Jerusalem, but that does not matter. Because they're winning and it's working and nobody cares, dude. So you got to change it up and they don't want to. They just want to keep begging for mercy.
To give Israel a full veto power over Jerusalem, to exclude 350,000 Palestinian Jerusalemites from the democratic process.
But if you don't have the mandate to the people, how can you represent them?
You are right. However, we must find ways to convene elections. I agree. Nothing is needed at this point more than the democratic renewal and going back to our people and hearing from our youth. And they decide what direction the Palestinian
Because
people.
that youth is turning against you in big numbers.
That youth are angry with a sense of hopelessness. There is hopelessness and helplessness in the streets of Jenin, Nablus,
and what can you do about that? What can you do about that?
All over. What we need to do, we need to reassess all of our commitments. In the 80s, when you were covering already Palestine, the late Yasser Arafat and his colleagues in the leadership engaged Europe and the US, and that engagement brought about a two-state solution. That was never a Palestinian demand, it's a Palestinian concession. And the international community failed to enforce its own policies, and there has been double standards all along,
We know that, and there have been, and we can carry on, but
David.
we can't because we run out of time.
The fact is, though, is that, no one's going to hold Egypt or Jordan or anyone to account because the United States wants this to happen. Right, because the United States, the UK, and Canada, quite frankly, maybe not Canada as much as the UK, right? Maybe that's lower on that list, but because the whole Western world wants this to happen for one reason or another, we all got our finger in the pot for one reason or another. But yeah, and I mean, I think that he talks about the two-state solution. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like honestly, I think the Palestinian, they either need to go serious and militarize their entire society and say, we want peace, but we refuse to not fight back anymore, right? And we will defend ourselves. We're not going to allow one more single home to be taken. Or they go full Gandhi. I just, it's working and it's almost over. Right? How much time does Palestine honestly have left?
Ambassador Zomler, thank you very much indeed.
You're most welcome.
Well, let's go to Jackie in Leeds with more on this.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not like Palestine could win in a war, but they could make it so expensive and so costly, and like really crank up the brutality against the Israeli people and, make it like, they could, if they wanted to, right? But I mean, they're running out of time to do anything. And I do think the Palestinian Authority, I don't think they're getting it done.
Situation in Jenin. Jackie.
Thanks, Matt. Now, it's only a small township, so what is the significance of Jenin in this long-running conflict? Well, there are 19 Palestinian refugee camps that have been set up over the decades in the West Bank, according to the UN. But time and again, it's Jenin that sees the most violent and deadly clashes with Israeli forces. Conflict there isn't anything new, stretching back more than 70 years. The camp in Jenin was originally set up to house thousands of dispossessed Palestinians after the State of Israel was established in 1948.
Yeah, but, Barry Weiss, yeah, but, my Bible or something, my yarmulke, I don't know, it's all justified.
Over decades it grew, transforming into a small township rather than a traditional camp, and is now home to about 23,000 people. Its citizens, often third or fourth generation, have frequently expressed anger at being treated as refugees within their own home, left powerless and poor. And all around them, Israel has forged ahead with the construction of new illegal West Bank settlements. Just last month, its government...
They're so ugly, too. Fuck, man. You know? Jesus, dude. You can't even try to fit the aesthetic of the territory. You're just going to go full... you know, Stepford wife over here. This shit looks like it's downtown Miami, dude.
Approved another 5,000 new homes. Living under the constant threat of eviction, often unemployed and disenfranchised, Jenin has become a notorious hotbed for what Palestinians consider armed resistance and Israelis call terrorism. The camp in Jenin was the arena of some of the worst bloodshed during the Second Intifada in the early 2000s.
No, a desert can
Many
be
of the suicide bombers who led the uprising came from here. In response, Israeli forces carried out a devastating raid on the camp, killing 52, half of whom were civilians. More than 20 years later, an almost identical scenario is playing out again. The Israeli government has insisted this one, though, was a targeted operation, the former Prime Minister describing it as a tweezer-like attack. I asked Tamara Al-Rifai from UNRWA, the UN agency responsible for Palestine's 6 million refugees,
it was a revenge
whether that was
strike.
Realistic when I spoke to her earlier.
It was a revenge strike. Who are we
kidding?
Any
fighting in a densely populated area always deals a big blow to the neighborhood, to the infrastructure, to the homes of people, to their livelihoods, and to their psychological well-being. Our team at UNRWA, the UN Agency for Palestine Refugees, went in today to start to look at the scale of the damage and to start to look at the needs of the population that was there and to start to plan our return, because for the last 2 days, we were not able to carry out our basic critical services. Now, for the record, UNRWA runs basic services, public-like services, schools, health centers, food distribution in Palestine refugee camps.
Sounds like terrorist activity to me.
There are 19 of them in the West Bank, in the occupied West Bank.
I mean, you talk about your organization going back in, you've not been able to be there. Some of the people who are living there, who had nowhere to flee, talking to our team on the ground, have been very critical of your agency. They're asking, you know, where were you in the run-up to this operation? Where were you when the Israelis were making clear there would be this sort of attack? They feel abandoned by you. Is that fair?
That is fair to say for anyone who has just undergone the kind of events of the last 2 days. It is fair to expect that such events do not happen, and it is fair to expect that humanitarian organizations would get in. From a humanitarian organization perspective, it is not possible to access across active hostilities. So for the last 2 days, our teams have been trying to get in, and it has not been possible. However, part of our team lives in Jenin camp. I have colleagues who come from Jenin camp and with whom we've been in contact over the last 2 years. Today, that team from Jenin camp and my colleagues from our office in East Jerusalem were all together in Jenin camp trying to assess what they're going to roll out as of tomorrow.
I mean, briefly, if you would, your agency does face a real problem in terms of how much it will be able to do for the people who have just been through so much. The blunt truth is you don't have enough funds. You've just raised 100 million of the 300 million you need. Why are donor countries so reluctant to help?
There are a variety of reasons. There is a bit of disengagement at the global level from the Israel-Palestine conflict altogether. There is competition,
Bill
for
Maher
lack
is
of a better
winning.
word, with other humanitarian crises. There is a crisis, which is the Palestine refugee cause crisis that has been going on for far too long for younger policymakers to remember the origin of it, which is a conflict unresolved.
It's like
you
Tibet.
said it.
No one
we
just
are facing
they
immense
got away
funding
with it
problems.
long enough.
Things
No one
are going to
fucking
get
cared.
worse now because of the Jenin situation. It is extremely urgent for our donors, our partners, to come to our rescue and to the rescue of UNRWA.
Do you think that some donors just don't want to go anywhere near this trouble? They don't want to go anywhere near this conflict.
Yeah, gee, why would they do that?
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Conflicts in the world, this one is no longer in the top 5, unfortunately, and so that lack of interest, plus intense politicizing
Ukraine
of the Israel-Palestine conflict, makes it difficult to support us.
No, it's not, you know, it's not like if Ukraine wasn't happening, all of a sudden a bunch of support would be flooding into Palestine. That's not the case. It's just not the case. Don't let, I don't know who's trying to make that argument, but don't believe the fucking hype on that one. Okay? The world doesn't care about Palestine, just like Tibet. Right? What, you know, how is it going to help the West to save Tibet? Like I said in the Discord, it you know, religion of course plays a factor, but it's not about religion. It's about geopolitics. That's why we're seeing what's happening. It's about Iran. All right, folks, there you go. That's my Palestinian update. Thank you so much, YouTube. Have a good day.